Celebrating Mental Health Awareness Week on GDS, we knew we had to find the perfect guest for this topic. We found him thanks to Kevin Polkey's help. This is Zach Haney, motivational speaker. Thanks so much for being here with us.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I've heard you speak before too at one of Kevin Polkey's events, so I'm so glad we're going to be able to share what you are doing for mental health with our viewers tonight. I want to talk a little bit about your background and how you came to be a mental health motivational speaker.
Yeah. So when I was 15, I'll start here. When I was 15, that's when I was diagnosed with some anxiety and depression. I was kind of fumbling my way through that process for a couple of years, and things were hard. It took me time to learn the importance of advocating for yourself.
Sure.
So yeah, fast forward a couple of years, dealing with that, I was seeing a counselor, and I had always kind of known that it was something a little bit more. And so when I turned 17, a couple months down the line from then, I found myself at a really low place in my life, the lowest I'd ever been. And that's when I realized I needed to ask for help. It was February 27th, 2020. I spent, I believe it was 4 or 5 days at the Swedish American Hospital, the psychiatric ward for adolescents. And that changed my life. That not only saved my life, but it saved my way of living. That enabled me to have the tools I now share with everyone else, and blessed to be able to share today. But yeah, so then, in a couple of years down the line from then, here I am now, 20 years old. I've given, I think, 5 speeches in front of crowds and been able to share my story and just, meet awesome, amazing people and help do my part in ending the stigma around mental health.
It's so important to hear stories like this, because I'm obviously way older than you, and so I think back about when I was that age and nobody talked about anything that was going on in our mental health world when I was a teenager or even in my early 20s. And to have you at 20 years old going out around town and speaking is huge, especially for teenage boys who we know are the hardest ones to reach. Sorry guys, you're the hardest ones to reach in every capacity, let alone mental health. So you're such a great example to be out here saying literally your shirt, it's okay to not be okay. And these boys are like, what? I don't understand that. I know you have a motto that you kind of work off of.
So pretty much for me, what I learned in my time really dealing with my own mental health was that the pen is in my hand and I get to write the end of my story. I, for a long time, felt like I was a victim to my circumstances and my diagnosis of anxiety and depression, but there came a point in my life where I realized that my circumstances don't define me. They may pull me down, they may pull me back, they may cause me to struggle, but they don't have to define my life. And so then once I finally realized that I could pick up that pen and instead of focusing on writing a new beginning, I could pick up that pen and write a new ending for my life, that's when my whole life changed. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, is just empower the youth, whether you're older, younger, anyone, to just pick up that pen and believe in yourself and know that you're worth fighting for, because you are. And this is so cool being here today. This is awesome.
I'm happy to be able to have you here. You got to get pens with your name on it. Do you have them?
I don't.
I do. So you can hand them out and tell them to pick up your pen. I'll give you an email website. We'll figure out how to get those to you. That's such an amazing thing, though, because it's true. A lot of depression and anxiety is built on the past. Obviously, that's all we've experienced up to this point is the past. So we think about how we can change the past, but guess what? We can't. But we don't think enough about how we can change the future. So that's a great way to actually get people to understand what you're talking about. Because it's a toughie. So what are you doing now? What's next for you?
What's next for me? So, I've got a couple speeches coming up in the fall, a couple over the summer. Right now, I'm kind of in the process of working on some projects of spreading that awareness for mental health through interviewing people in the community. We're getting that started and so.
Where can we find you online?
You can find me online at Zach Haney with 2 Y's on Instagram, and Zach Haney Speaks on
with 1 Y.
YouTube with 1 Y.
That's why we have a screen, so we can show the 2 Y's, so we can all follow you all over and keep along with your journey. Find out when you get those pens. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, it was an honor. Thank you for having me.
Mental Health Awareness Week continues next with a new exhibit at the Wonder Museum in Chicago. We're taking you there in just a second.